What's up guys? Welcome back to the studio. My name is Martin Depict, and in this video we're going to be talking about this lens right here. This is Canon's new 28-70 f2, and it is the biggest piece of glass in this focal length that I've ever used. I think it's the only one that they've ever made that's this fast at this focal length. I think it's the fastest medium zoom that you can buy on the market today, which is insane. And I heard someone describe it as having a prime lens at every focal length from 28 to 70, because you are able to open it up at f2, and which I know it seems kind of fake, because when I first heard about this lens, I thought that it was just gonna, I was like, nah, that can't be true. I feel like I was gonna zoom out to 70 and it was gonna close down to like 3.5. But it didn't, and I was pleasantly surprised. I really love this lens. I really love the images that I got out of it, the quality, especially it being on the new mount from Canon. I was blown away. But just so you guys can see the comparison between this lens, the 28-70 f2, to this lens, this is the 24-70 f2.8. So that is the size side by side, and this is the front of the glass. This lens right here is a 95mm piece of glass, and this right here is an 82mm front piece of glass. Since I did take it to Coachella with me, I was able to use it for a bunch of different pictures during the day, at night with flash, and I can honestly say that it's the best all-around lens now. And I'm saying that now because this used to be the best all-around lens. The 24-70 f2.8 was the best all-around lens that you can buy. I feel like you can go buy your first camera, buy it with the 24-70 f2.8, and you will be set. You can shoot everything with it, portraits, landscapes, whatever you want. But now there's this thing, and the only downside that I can think of is really the size and the weight of this thing. But again, if this is the only lens that you have, you will be set. Wait, no, wait, I guess the price is another negative, because it is $3,000, and it's part of the reason why I rented this lens instead of purchasing this lens, because I don't have $3,000 to spend on a lens like this when I already have this one. So yeah, that's a big negative, and then like another reason why I was so skeptical of it, and it was like, do I really need this when I already have this? Like it's half a stop faster than this one, and I lose 4mm, and it's 28 instead of 24mm. So I was very skeptical. But now that I've got to use it and got my hands on it, I can see the reason why it cost $3,000, and I can honestly say that it's the best lens that I've ever used. So before I left on this trip, I wanted to make sure that I had all my bases covered, because I didn't know what I was gonna be shooting, how I was gonna be shooting it, where in the festival I was gonna be. I wanted to be prepared for every scenario possible. So I ended up bringing way more gear than I actually needed, because honestly, I only ended up using this lens and the 50mm f1.2, the new one that I reviewed a little while ago. And then I also used this one as well. And the reason why I still used the 24-70 is because this I was able to get an ND filter for. So I own an ND filter for this lens, and because of the new adapter, I have the adapter where I drop in the polarizer. So I was able to use a polarizer and an ND filter, and that combination for video when I was out there getting some footage was amazing. And I guess that's another downside of this lens, is that this front piece of glass, this 95mm piece of glass, it's really hard to find ND filters or even variable ND filters at this size, because lenses that usually have this big of a face on it usually have drop-ins in the back of the lens. So lenses like the 500mm or 400mm, they have drop-ins for ND filters and polarizers, and I was not able to use my drop-ins because this is the new mount. So yeah, that's another negative. But with this lens, after you get to shoot everything at f2, it's really hard to go back to f2.8. And because it was the new mount, I was able to get really sharp images. I was able to get the bokeh really nice, even if I was shooting at 28mm and right in front of my subject. So let's go over some of those images. Okay, so the first night that I was there, as I mentioned, I was working with the client. The client was Viola, which is a cannabis company, and they had a cannabis bar at one of the parties around Coachella. So I was taking pictures of the jars, and I was using a flash with all these images. So it was like, they just came out really crisp. I kind of like this blown out feel. Like they weren't blown out of the camera, but I definitely gave it that effect. And yeah, like I was really happy with how this lens performed at an event like this, because I can now know that I can travel with this lens and get the images that I need from it. On Saturday, I didn't get to the event until much later, so the sun had already gone down a little bit, so I decided to stick with the 50mm 1.2. And on that day, it was really cool because I actually bumped into Summer Rae and Amanda Cerny, and I'll show you guys those photos at the end that I took with the 50mm 1.2, so stick around for those. But anyway, back to the 28-70. On Sunday, I got to use it a lot. I pretty much just kept it on my camera all day Sunday, and I got to see a lot more performances. So even when people were on stage, zooming into 70mm, I got a good amount of compression. I got a lot of detail. So here's an image of Tyga that I took, and this was taken at 70mm, but it was also cropped in because I was used to working with only 16 megabytes with my Nikon D4S. So when I now got the EOS R, this thing having 30 megapixels, I have no idea what to do with that many megapixels. So for me, cropping is not a bad thing, especially when it's just for social. Like you only need 1920 by 1080. You're not gonna need the whole 6K image that it puts out. So for me, cropping in and losing some pixels is fine. Here's another image of Rich the Kid performing. I got St. John. He actually just dropped a track. It's called Trap. Really dope. It's featuring Lil Baby. You guys should go check that out. It's a dope song. I got Al Harrington and Quavo chatting it up. And again, these are images that were taken, I think, wide open at 28mm, the last 3-4 images. You know, you still get that bokeh, you still get that separation because of the depth. Here's J.R. Smith, and then here's one of Jasmine Sanders that I took also. Again, all these were taken with this lens. And so, you know, I didn't expect it to be this good, and I didn't expect wanting to use it more than this. Now I'm stuck in a little bit of a dilemma because I don't have $3,000 to spend on this, but I really want it. So I've come up with a solution, and I think what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna be parting ways with my 1DX Mark II and the 24-70 with it. It makes me sad because it was my first Canon camera. It was the thing that I made the switch for. I switched from the Nikon D4S to the Canon 1DX2. But now, since I got the EOS R, for my line of work and what I do, shooting 60p is enough for video for me. I don't usually need the 120, and if I am gonna need the 120, I will rent a camera because that's probably more cost effective for me. And I don't really shoot at 16 frames a second anymore. Like before, when I was shooting with Volcom and shooting with Diamond, yeah, I would need those higher frame rates just in case they needed me to shoot some skateboarding. But now, like shooting portraits in studio, this camera does great in low light with the focusing. I'm able to get higher quality megapixels out of this. The two downsides that I see is that I'm losing the 120 in video. I'm also losing the low light capability because this camera, as great as it is, it's not as good in low light as the 1DX Mark II. But I've made up my mind, and I think it's gonna be the right decision because if I sell my Canon 1DX Mark II and the 24-70 together, this lens costs $3 grand. It's probably gonna be like $3,700 after taxes and after the warranty that I usually get at Sammy's. Close to $4 grand here, and maybe I'll save the rest for a 16-35, because I've never had a 16-35, and I know a lot of YouTubers use it. But I think this is gonna be a smart decision for me, is, you know, jumping into this new RF mount and the new RF system. It's me solidifying my connection with Canon because this piece of glass only works right now with the R. So the 1DX Mark III that comes out next year, I don't see myself getting it. I I really thought I was gonna be able to get it. I really thought that I wanted to get it. But honestly, again, for what my workflow is, this camera and this lens, like 60% of the time, this is gonna be my combination. 28-70, EOS R is not gonna come off, and then I'll throw on the 50mm 1.2 because that lens is just insane. I don't really use the 85 anymore. It's kind of crazy. I don't know, like, it's crazy how all these new systems have come out, and I didn't expect to jump in like this deep, this fast, but for Canon to come out with a piece of glass that is this versatile, it's insane. I don't want to send this back. I have to send this back in the morning and I don't want to give it up. That's how much I like this lens. But yeah, I mean, that's all I have to say about it. I mean, I don't have anything bad to say about it, but I'll go over the cons again. Again, the cons are the price, $3,000. The weight is heavy, way heavier than this one. I don't know, like, it's heavier, it's a lot bigger. ND filters are gonna be hard to find. I don't wanna give this back. But anyway, guys, thank you guys for watching. My name is Martin Depict. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below. And as I promised, here are the pictures of Summer Rae and Amanda Cerny that I took at Coachella, at one of the events at Coachella with the 50mm 1.2. Enjoy, peace.